Okay, so I think it will work this time. Yeah. This is the like second or third time I tried to record this because for some reason OBS wasn't picking up the rest of the slides. It was only recording the first one. But this is slide for the Waterloo Watchels for VBL S season 11. It's my draft review. This is my first time making a YouTube video. It's probably going to be my last time, but I wanted to do a draft breakdown because all the other people's have seemed so fun. Um, this is the first season that I did the Waterloo Watchels. In fact, I made it during the sync draft practice because I thought of my Waterloo Warriors for the University of Waterloo team, and I realized that Watchel's colors fit so well in, and I just wanted to make something about that, so I hastily put together this edit. I also wanted to acknowledge that the slides that you're going to see are very heavily inspired by Sukaba's Season 10 draft review, so there's that. Anyways, I learned a lot from the sync draft. First of all, I learned that 22 plus actually means 22 plus. I hadn't looked at the points, and I thought that it meant 22 points at base, but when you added points to it, for the sync draft, that you just didn't have fill categories. But no, it actually means 22 plus. I realized after Ursaluna, suddenly I had 2 less points than I thought. Anyways, also points are tight. After drafting the top 3, I realized that normally that would just be fine with the top 3, but then I would still have a little bit of wiggle room. But I found out that I very heavily had to adjust my points after that. So that definitely affected my drafting style for the actual one. I also learned that I had to double check the availability because in round 3 I technically made an illegal pick because I had Screamtail as a backup for Azumarill, and Screamtail went round 2. It's just kind of difficult to track everything that's been drafted when it's all at once. So I made sure to double check everything. I didn't want to mess anything up. I also learned that losing both Pokemon early on in the draft is not an issue at all. I started the sync draft and I put +3 on Fire Ogerpon and +0 on the Water Ogerpon, and I lost them both, and then I just basically got a free pick at whatever was left in the draft. So it was not that bad, and I definitely adjusted how I would have drafted early on based on that. Most importantly, the thing I learned was that Regieleki was only 18 points. I feel like that's cheap. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but it feels like to me that Regieleki was the Terra Pokemon, right? When Terra first came out, was announced, my first thought was, oh my god, now Regieleki is going to have ice coverage, it's going to have water coverage, it's going to have grass coverage, it's going to be able to change its typing so you can't get a guaranteed kill on it, it's going to do a bunch of different things with it, and it's so fast that, if you just have the right Terra Blast, you're going to be able to take out things that weren't expected in it. I also did some calcs, and I realized that I can kind of OHKO most of the top threads if it's in the ideal situation. Obviously, the coaches in this league aren't going to allow me to just put it in the ideal situation every time. But if I can get it into that situation, and I have the right Terra, it just annihilates everything. This is just some information about how fast it is. It only needs 20 speed to outspeed the next fastest Pokemon in the tier, and it allows me to play around with things like Tailwinds against middle and speed Pokemon, and Scarfs against high speed Pokemon if I want to invest in speed. I'm not going to really go over a lot of the details about the Pokemon because most people in this league know what they're doing, so I don't really need to talk about the stats and the abilities. The ability nerf did hurt a little bit, but I think it's still fine. I did put here the backup and wager that I put because I think that since this is our first time doing sync draft, I want to talk about the sync draft strategies that I had. So here's what I was talking about with it's fine to lose your first Pokemon, your both Pokemon in the early rounds, because I only wagered +1 because I think 19 points is a very reasonable point for it still. But if I lost it to a +2, it's fine because I just get whatever's backup. And I had Golden Go as backup just because I haven't used Golden Go, and I kind of wanted to use it. So I have these moves here. It's very yellow right now because there's a lot of electric moves that are relevant. Uh, Terra Blast is going to be on my team basically every week for Regieleki just because at worst, it's a normal type move, so I'm not entirely walled by a Terra ground, but at best, it's like a guaranteed Oko on something that wasn't expected. It has some pretty good status moves. Light Screen and Reflect are really nice because you'll see with my team, I drafted very offensive, and so I kind of need something to help my team survive without those like very bulky Pokemon. Um, Thunder Wave, Eerie Impulse are also great ways to control the speed and the like damage of the opponents. Like I can take out a surprise KO because I took half their speed and now they're slower than something they can kill it. Or I Eerie Impulse and now they're not taking the KOs on my side Pokemon and that Pokemon just kills something. Uh, Magnet Rise is just funny because I can Terra Flying if I want to, so why would I run Magnet Rise? But it's an option. Uh, yeah. So I put my nicknames for the Pokemon up here, and I decided on a theme that's One Piece themed. It's basically every Pokemon is named after like a devil fruit that fits with it. So Regieleki has a Nell fruit, aka Eminem if he was made of electricity. Yeah, so it's gonna be named Goro. My second pick is another instance of the it doesn't matter if your first picks get lost because I wagered 0 on Ogerpon H and I got it. I also had Chiyu as a backup and I was completely fine losing that as well, but I didn't even need to worry about that because I got Ogerpon. Now, Ogerpon is really cool. I when it was announced, I really wanted to draft it, but obviously, if you were to draft it in a normal style draft, you would have to get a high placement. In this, I somehow got it round 2, so I'm very happy with that. Uh, as you can see, I have a Kelp over here. It's not like the most practical Kelp. Like I don't see myself clicking Terrafire, Ogerpon's like Ivy Cudgel into a Gudra in the sun. But like the point of the Kelp is to show that with one simple like modifier, it can suddenly go from like being it can it's like so close to the edge of this is just going to kill everything without thinking that you add a single modifier and you kill something that it should have no business killing. And so that's something that I'm going to highlight throughout the draft. Water, fire, and electric are pretty nice coverage. Like they cover each other very well. The only thing that they don't hit is dragon, which you'll see how I deal with that later. But one of the ways I can deal with it is just play rough. Like Ogerpon already has the coverage to support itself. Um, yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Uh, you can see I put Brick Break. I'll talk about why I put Brick Break because normally Superpower would just be better. But there's a specific reason with my team that I kind of think that Brick Break might be important. But also just Ogerpon's status moves are really good. Like even if somehow there's a matchup where I can't see myself IB cudgeling through them, I can still run it and run just like Leech Sheep, Follow Me, Encore. If you know me, you know I like Encore. Taunt, Swords Dance, just nice. I put Spiky Shield here. I didn't put Protect earlier because they're basically the same move and everyone learns Protect, but I put Spiky Shield here because I never get the chance to use the like a custom Protects, so I was happy about that. Anyways, Ogerpon's pretty straightforward. It's named Mara after the Mara no Mi for Ace. It's a Fire Logia, just like the electric one. Next up, we have Haxorus, and this is how I'm dealing with the defensive dragons. With the 147 attack, it's just going to kill anything that tries to defensively tear into the ground. So you really have to think about how you're dealing with Haxorus if you want to tear ground for the top 2 Pokemon. Its speed tier is good enough that if I have Regieleki on its side and it's taking things like Thunder Wave or things like what's that move? Electric Web. I always forget the name of that. If I click Electric Web, it will just outspeed things. And that's really nice. it's also kind of on the cheaper end because I like a lot of the top dragons were like 17 points or above, and points are tight, so I don't really want to invest that much so early. So I wanted a cheaper dragon. It was between this and Noivern, but I felt that this one breaks walls a lot easier. Also, in the singles league I'm in right now, I have Garchomp, and basically every week for like the past 5 weeks, I've run Scale Shot with loaded dice, and it's gotten 3 kills each time. So I kind of, I'm a big fan of that combination, so I wanted to grab Haxorus for that. Uh, its moveset is really nice. It has like all the coverage a dragon's gonna want to have. It also has First Impression, which I probably won't use, but it's pretty fun to have like a +2 priority, especially if I'm feeling really creative. I can run Terra Bug and get the stab First Impression, which would be nice. I have it set up galore again, right, with a Swords Dance on Ogerpon and Dragon Dance Swords Dance on Haxorus. Roar could be helpful in like a Trick Room setup. Also with Taunt. I don't know if Hatterene was drafted, but if it was, I have Mold Breaker Taunt, so that could be fun. Sunny Day is there because, again, Ogerpon is one boost away from just killing things that had no business killing. Endure, I kind of just put there because I saw Sukaba put it there on one of his slides, and so I thought, oh, I'll put it there as well. That's also why I put Reversal, because it's just like, oh, if I'm going to put Endure on here, I might as well put Reversal. And, oh yeah, I should probably talk about the points, but I'll talk about that 1 second later. I said here what defensive terrors are left, because if you want to deal with the top 3 Pokemon I have, you're going to want to Terra Dragon for the Ogerpon and the Regieleki, but then you lose Haxorus. If you Terra Fairy to deal with Haxorus, then you die to an Ivy Cudgel. If you Terra Ground, you die to Power Whip from the Ogerpon. So it's like, I focus a lot on trying to force out Terra defensive types and then deal with that later, right? So like, I forced out the Dragon from Regieleki and Ogerpon, but then I have Haxorus, so like, that's a lot of how I was thinking when I was drafting. Anyways, how I drafted this one was kind of not ideal. I put +2 to it because I wanted the Haxorus, because I had a plan for my 4th pick, which I did not get. If I realized I wasn't going to get the 4th pick, which went in round 3, I would have gone Como, but it was too late to change that. Anyways, about that 4th pick, oh wait, yeah, the name. This is Noro. It's named after this guy who can like make his body parts into blades, kind of like Haxorus's face. So I just thought that kind of fits. What could have been? I wanted Milotic, but Chase put it as a +6, so there was no chance I would have ever gotten it, even if I went to round 3. The reason I really wanted it is because I think Ogerpon plus Milotic would just be an insanely deadly combo. Because, like, Ogerpon can't run the Clear Amulet, so Intimidate is one of its most obvious weaknesses. But Milotic loves to be put beside Pokemon that are, like, weak to Intimidate. Like, in this, I had a Usum draft BGC where I had these 3, and it's basically the same thing as these 2. And as you can see, they were very successful. Like, 31 kill Kartana is kind of insane, but the only reason I was able to get that many kills was because if you tried to bring Intimidate, I would just leave Milotic and then I would sweep the game. I did that like twice. I honestly think I think 6 of these kills from Milotic were from the same game. The same set where I just let it and got 4 immediately. So like, it was very nice to have, but I did not get it. So instead I got Articuno Galar, which seems like the obvious backup. In fact, it was Jace's backup. Was it Jace? Yeah. It was Jace's backup, and it's basically the same idea, except for offensively instead of defensively. I preferred it with the water type and defensively, but I guess I can Terra water anyways. It's only a point cheaper, but I feel like it's at least 2 points less value, so I think Milotic might have needed to be bumped up a little bit. But the stats here are very nice. I also had never used Articuno Galar, which means this is like the 4th Pokemon that I had never used. No, I've used Haxorus. So it's the 3rd one. So my draft is really, really new to me, which is fun. Anyways, competitive is so important for my team, especially when I keep building it the way I built it, because, well, I'll talk about that later, but speed control is nice. It has both forms. It has imprison, so I have another way to like deal with a trick room, but I can also set my own trick room with some solo Pokemon that I get later on. It has Sunny Day, which again is like the Ogerpon thing. Uh, it has the light screens, which again, like game controls can be really hard to get because I don't have very many dedicated supports. So I wanted to get as many ways to set screens and set like sunny days and stuff like that as I could. It has Help in Hand, which is basically the same thing as a sunny day for Ogerpon, but one turn at a time. It can also set up itself. I do have a lot of setup, and if I can like follow me with the Ogerpon and completely switch someone up. Maybe one day I run the Adrenaline Orb set with Articuno, and they intimidate the Ogerpon, but by doing so they boost Articuno, and then I start follow me and then reveal that the Ogerpon is a supportive Pokemon this time. It'll be fun. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Its coverage moves are basically just Stab plus Shadow Ball plus the magical Terra Blast, and then I don't think I'd be using U-turn, but I put it there because I had nothing else to put there. Typing wise, it helps a lot against the grounds because when I Terra the Ogerpon, it has to become pure fire, so it's weak to ground, and so is the Regieleki, which this means that I can help against Earthquakes, but I'm also starting to form a rock weakness. Basically, this is just another way to like pseudo run a support Pokemon while keeping up the offensive pressure, which was a lot of how I was planning to draft. See, my backup was Klefki. I didn't really want to spend that much points on a Klefki, but if I didn't get Articuno, it was kind of like my backup to swap to a more supportive Pokemon. Instead, I got my 5th pick, I believe, which is a pseudo Klefki, but we'll talk about that after the nickname. Articuno is kind of just foxy. I mean, it has the weird haircut. It has the weird psychic beams, which, if you don't know, these beams, if you get hit by them for like 60 seconds, you move in slow motion, which is pretty funny, but his arc was very boring, so people don't really like him. And that's also kind of how I feel about Articuno. I never really had interest in using Articuno, and I kind of just felt like, oh, I kind of now have to use Articuno, but it's fine. I'll make it work. Yeah, okay, so Morgrem is my 5th pick, I thought so. This is the pseudo Klefki. Just having the immediate light screen effect is nice. It kind of, my team is kind of screens heavy at this point, but it's alright. The game control aspect of Morgrem, though, is very important because Fake Out is not cheap in this league, so I really needed something to like have that option that I can see myself bringing every week, and Morgrem is definitely one of those Pokemon. I've used it before. It was nice. The offensive moves, you bring one of them so that you don't lose the taunt, and then you're done with it. But it does have Drain Punch, Burning Jealousy, Chilling Water, which could all be like niche uses. Like if they have a quad week fight in one time, I might run Drain Punch as my 4th move. And if I feel like they set up a lot, or they have a fire weakness, then I can Burning Jealousy, and Chilling Water is just like an attack drop. It's probably not going to run, but it's something anyways. The status moves are really where it's important. Fake Tears helps Regieleki just kill things. Hardened Shot helps me position it around because I do have a very offensive team, so if I'm switching something in, I kind of need something to mitigate the damage from the switch. Taunt is nice because screens are very good to me, and just general control. Thunder Wave as well, speed control. Thunder Wave and Scary Face are kind of interchangeable. I prefer Thunder Wave, but we'll see what I do. Confide, Swagger, Flatter are just moves that, like, very nichely I might run. I probably won't run them, but they're fun to put on. My backup you'll see is Crawdont. I've kind of ran into a problem with the backups where I didn't really have anything to back it up, so I just put a future pick in it. So this is kind of a spoiler. I was kind of worried that people would see my backups and then start picking those Pokemon, but I didn't know what else to put. So, yeah, Crawdont is on the team, but it's not next round. The name for this one comes from Berry, because it's the barrier fruit, and he basically makes like a light screen reflect kind of deal. in front of him. Also, fun fact, he's pissing in this photo, so that's nice. I feel like these two fit a very similar vibe, so I think this is probably one of the best nickname setups. But yeah. Next up is Berserker. This is the second fake out option that I see myself bringing every game. In my first VBL season, it was actually the Nat Dex version. I had Cabaraja, and I found that just having like a slow steel type that you just throw on your fast team helps a lot, especially if they have like a niche trick room option that you weren't expecting. So this is basically that. In fact, my original backup for Berserker was Cabaraja, and then in the previous round 5, someone took Cabaraja and they had their backup Berserker. So I immediately was like, okay, now I have to pull the trigger on drafting Berserker, otherwise I might not get it. And if I do get it, I don't know what my backup is. So I tried the Jace strategy, except for I chickened out a little bit, just in case Jace also wanted this Pokemon, so I put +5. And it worked out fine. I think that strategy that Jace had might just be optimal, because I don't think he overpaid for very many things. Backup was just Ambipom, because Fake Out is nice. It's cheap steel type with Fake Out. That's the idea. It has some cool abilities, but I think they're all just kind of worse than Steely Spirit most times, because like the Iron Head damage is really nice. But if I give this an Assault Vest, it has good enough bulk that it won't just die, and I don't really need to focus a lot on keeping it alive. The moveset is really nice. Like, it's kind of like the whole rainbow here. It basically gets every coverage move you could ever need, and also some fun ones like Trailblaze or Gyro Ball for curse sets. Knockoff is nice. Terra Blast is magical. Fake Tears, I don't see myself running. I put it on here just because I didn't realize they got Fake Tears, and I thought that was funny. Help in Hand Sunny Day is the Ogerpon issue, where just one small boost and suddenly it kills stuff that it shouldn't. Swords Dance, because I like setup, apparently. Taunt, Iron Defense, Amnesia. I don't think I'm bringing those, but I could. At this point, it covered a lot of the weaknesses I had. Like, I had an Ice weakness, a Poison weakness, a Rock weakness, a Fairy weakness. I still kind of have a Fairy weakness, but it was kind of important that I got a Steel type, and I didn't want to risk it with something like Bronzor. This one is named the Jiki based on the Jiki no Mi, which is this like magnetism one from this kid. His name is actually Kid. I didn't intend that, but yeah. Next pick is the Crawdon that I had mentioned earlier. Yeah, it just kills stuff, and it was especially important because I have a ground weakness, I have a rock weakness. But like, what's a ground weakness or a rock weakness if I just kill them with an Aqua Jet, right? So that's kind of the hope. I don't know how accurate that's going to be. I haven't done many calcs, but like 120 attack with a tapped ability is really nice. Unfortunately, it does just kind of explode if it's touched by a special attack. So I will have to try and deal with that, maybe with like the many options for Light Screen or an Assault Vest if I feel like it can run that 1 week. It's got some pretty good moves, like Knockoff, Close Combat, Rock Slide, Terra Blast. They're just nice moves to have, right? Like super strong Close Combats, Knockoffs, Rock Slide if I flinch in like a Trip Room situation, which is unlikely. I put Snarl, Icy Wind, Chilling Water because someone pointed out that it technically does have a decent special attack. Like, 90 special attack with adaptability is not something that you can just ignore. So, well, I don't think that I would ever run that. I do think that if I'm in a situation where if they can deal with my physical attackers really well, I might actually run it special. And these are just some moves that are nice for that. It's got setup moves. It's got taunt. It's a Crawdon. You kind of know what it's gonna do. It's gonna like a Crab Hammer or an Aqua Jet, and it's gonna kill something or it's gonna die. At this point, you might have noticed that I really like high attack stats, apparently, because if you see my team, it's very physical. That's kind of all I have to say about Crawdon, except for the fact that it's spoiling something a little bit later. It's named Choki after this character, which isn't really a crab, but he does have scissors for hands. Next pick is Girder, physical attacker again. So if you look at here, at this point I had a 100 attack, 120, like I had an 106 average at this point for my attack stat, which is kind of insane, especially when I have something like 60 here. So yeah, at this point, dealing with the things that deal with physical attackers is really important. But I felt that Girder was still just necessary based on what it did give me. Namely, it gave me Brick Rake, which is again I mentioned with the Ogre Pawn. If someone has Reflect, it's pretty nice for them to click it against me because of how physical my team is. So having something that I can reasonably bring Brick Rake on every week is nice. It's something that I probably wouldn't want to run on Ogre Pawn, but on Girder, definitely. It's slightly weaker Drain Punch if I have Iron Fist. But it just gets rid of screens, which is important. It's got some pretty nice coverage moves, knockoff, and the elemental punches, poison jab for fairies, edge quake stuff, fancy Terra Blast. I don't see myself running Terra Blast because I don't really want to Terra Girder when I can Terra Ogre Pawn, but it's an option. Rock Throw is speed control. I don't think I'm gonna click it, but it would be fun to click it. So who knows? Mac Punch is Iron Fist boosted, but I think I just have better priority, so I don't know if I'm going to click it, but it's an option. It has Bulk Up because Setup is everywhere on my team. Helping Hand Sunny Days because Ogre Pawn. Taunt, Wide Guard, Scary Face. Taunt and Scary Face are probably not coming, but Wide Guard is definitely coming because if I have a weakness to Rock and Ground, the obvious answer is run Earthquake, run Rock Slide, so I need something to deal with that, something that's actually reasonable to bring. Yeah, this is kind of all I had for Girder, but I did have a backup that I highlighted here, because I had a backup for Palisand, and Palisand as a backup was one of those backups that weren't actually a backup, but just my future pick that I had just in case Girder went. Unfortunately, Palisand also went this round, so I don't have Palisand, but I really wanted it, because it's a special attacking ground, and there isn't really anything like that in this format, so it was a little unfortunate to lose Palisand, but I'll survive. Rika is the name of the fruit for this guy. It's literally the strong fruit, and he also kind of reminds me of Girder, so this one also fits pretty nice. Okay, OBS is weird, and it isn't recording my slideshow properly, so this is a re-recording of what happened. I kind of finished the draft review and then realized that it was still on the same page, unfortunately. I don't really know how to edit. I'll try and figure out how to stitch these together. But I did want to stop and take a break for a tragic tale anyways, so it wasn't a bad spot to break the video. See, in Season 9, I noticed something odd about a price of a certain Pokemon. It was Wugtrio, it was 2 points, I felt like it should be more. I noticed that Axew was in the same tier, and Axew was in the tier because it had 87 attack. But, like, all of its other stats were awful, and Wugtrio has 100 attack. So, like, if Axew is 2 points because of its attack, then Wugtrio maybe should be 3 points. I don't know. That was my thinking, and I brought it up when we were talking about where to move the Pokemon. And I was told that I should just draft it. And I decided, you know what, I would draft it. Unfortunately, as you can see by these reactions, this wasn't just a conversation between me and Jordan. There was also some other people hearing it, seeing it, and one of them was Poppin, and Poppin then went to draft it before I could in that season, and he was in my conference. So unfortunately, I got sniped on the 2-point value bomb that I had thought of, and then I had to face it, and unfortunately, tragedy struck, and then it struck again, and then it struck again, and I ended up losing that set 0-2, which kind of sucked, but it was week 7, so I was already in playoffs, and I didn't have to think about it. So I just went on and I checked my matchup, and this is what I saw. I was facing Poppin again, and he brought the Wugtrio again. This time though, I was ready. I did have like Terra, Water, Chiyu, and it didn't get any kills, and I also won the one set it came, but I lost the set. So I had a pretty bad experience with Wugtrio in Season 9. Because I wanted it, and then it destroyed me. this season it's not happening because I took the Bug Trio. It's never happened to me again. I'm swearing by that. So this Pokemon is pretty bad. It's a 2-point Pokemon. It's kind of, I think it maybe should be a 3-point Pokemon, but it's still a 3-point Pokemon at best. So it's not very good, but it is usable. Like, its speed tier is nice. Its attack is usable. Having like a multi-hit move is nice because it deals with sashes, and since my team is so offensive, it kind of incentivizes people to run sash. Uh, so this is just one way to deal with that immediately. It's just, hey, if it's a feral Pokemon that with sash, it's just gonna die to Trio. Not really though, because like any Pokemon that is decent, like an Iron Valiant, just lives the hit. Without like something like a Choice Band, which I don't see myself running, but still, it's usable for 3 points. I feel usable for 2 points, usable for 3 points. Depending on where they price it, I think it's a little bit more usable for 2 points than it should be, but it's still only a 2-point Pokemon. At this point, like my draft I had basically hit the ground for points, so this was just kind of an option that I wanted to have, and it allowed me to like go harder on the points earlier. The move set, it really struggles to get 4 moves to be nice, because like you run Triple Dive, sure, and then you run like Foul Play and use their attack instead of your own, or like Throat Chop if they have a sound move. Bulldoze is actually a good move. It's kind of what I lost to in that matchup versus Poppin, because he had Bulldoze and he had Clear Amulet on his Tauros, and Tauros was the thing that was killing me for the most part, but like having that immediate speed control is very nice. I have that in Regieleki a little bit, but if maybe they have a matchup that's better against Regieleki, and I want a more offensive Regieleki that matchup, I can maybe use Luxurio for speed control. Final Gambit, I only have 35 HP, but it's a funny move, so I might run it 1 week if I run Luxurio ever. Gooey actually is a really good ability. It like makes it really hard to remove, because like sure you can kill it in any move that you want that's decently strong. Again, 35 HP. But like doing so loses speed. Like I remember in the matchup I had Mousehold, and if I ever population bombed the Bug Trio, I just instantly became like +6, -6 speed. Which is funny. It's probably not coming, but it's a Pokemon. It's named after the Hana fruit, which is Robin's fruit, because she can sprout limbs everywhere, and Bug Trio kind of looks like it's sprouting out of a rock. Not much. I couldn't find a very good connection with Bug Trio, so this is just kind of what I got stuck with. Ghastly, with some very cool art. I don't know where this is from. It was from like I think it was from Cerebi Link, but I don't know why the Cerebi Link for it. Maybe it was from Legends Arceus. I don't know. I just thought it looked cool. It's a 2-point Pokemon, but this time it's actually good. It's an actually good 2-point Pokemon. Like 100 attack is this kind of the same as 100 special attack, but the difference is that Ghastly has good moves. Bug Trio struggles to get 4 moves because it has no moves that are good. Ghastly struggles to get 4 moves because it has so many moves that are good. It has so much utility. It has so much coverage. It has like attack and moves that are very useful, like Icy Wind, Acid Spray, Clear Smog. It has Curse, Destiny Bond, Disable, Haze. Like all of these moves are good. It has Sunny Day, which is the Overpawn thing. I feel like I probably don't need to mention it every time, but I'm gonna because it's funny. To me at least. It's the fun thing about Ghastly is kind of like the ultimate collection of anti-Dozo stuff, because it has like Curse, it has like Destiny Bond, Disable, Haze, Parasong, Taunt, Willow, like all these moves that you might use against Dozo, but there's not even a Dozo in my division as far as I know. So yeah, it also doesn't have the stats to necessarily deal with it, but it is like a interesting option. The moves are good on their own, even if they're not specifically against Dozo, so I do actually see myself bringing this once or twice. There's only 5 weeks, so maybe only once, but it's a good Pokemon that I believe in. It also cleans up a lot of my type weaknesses, because it just resists. I was weak to all of these stats, and now I'm not. That does kind of mean my type chart is a little bit fake, because Ghastly is such an important part of it, and it's a Ghastly, so yeah, but like, I like Ghastly. I've actually used it before. before. So yeah, it's named after Perona's fruit because Perona makes these little ghosts that like if they touch you, you become depressed. And at this point, with so little points, I kind of felt a little depressed. Anyways, this is the last pick. Mudbray was just like I'll replace the Palisand. Uh, oh, I don't know if I mentioned Palisand in this recording. Uh, yeah, because like Bug Trio, one of the things I was gonna do with Bug Trio is triple dive my Palisand because then I get +6 defense and I can like activate um a weakness policy, but that's obviously not an option anymore. Also, Helping Hand for the Ogre Pawn. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I don't see myself bringing Mudray a lot, but if they have like a ground weakness, it does have the stats with an Eviolite to like actually come and take hits, and has abilities. I don't have any abilities on here, but it does have like Inner Focus, which is nice because my team is so physical. So Intimidate is good against me. I can bring it without having to worry about making myself more Intimidate. The moveset is kind of what you would expect from a bulky ground. Low Sweep and Rock Tomb are like niche moves for like speed control. Fissure is a fun move. I had one matchup against Poppin, I think it was, where I had like a Munchlax that just didn't die, and it was kicking Fissure, and it actually almost won me the set. So I do believe in the low tier bulky Pokemon that clicks Fissure and doesn't die, and so maybe I bring it that one week. It's going to depend on how the season's going. I don't see myself bringing it if I'm like 4-0 and I'm trying to get the undefeated spot. Yeah. I also, not gonna lie, I thought it had Body Press. It does not, which really hampers a lot of my idea for why this Pokemon is actually usable, but I might trade it away, I might not. Who knows? I might just keep it as a 4-point sink of points. It's named Uma after this weird looking thing that kind of looks like a Pegasus, but it's actually just a bird that ate the horse fruit. One Piece is fun like that. So my final thoughts on the team: solid speed tiers. The types cover each other well. Again, some of them are pretty fake because it depends on Ghastly, but they cover each other well. The speed tiers are nice. I have like super fast Regieleki that allows me to win most fast modes, anyways, and 110, 97, 95. It does kind of have a gap in the 60s, and it does have a gap in like the 30s. But it does still do the job that I wanted it to do. So I'm fine with the speed tiers. I'm fine with the like type chart, especially since this fairy weakness is also kind of fake. Like sure, Ghastly is one of my resists, but like one of my resists is Crawdaunt, and it doesn't really matter if you're going for a fairy move or a water move if it's special against me. One of them is Morgrim, which I don't really care if it takes hits because it's just gonna set up a screen or fake out or something. And if it dies, then I bring in my offensive Pokemon that it's supposed to be setting up for anyways. And then Haxorus likes Terra Steel. So it's like, I do have a fairy weakness, but it's not that big of a deal for me. I did not get all the moves I was looking for. Notably, I lost out on a Quick Guard, and I lost out on Faint, or like a more variety of Encore. But I still felt like I did a pretty good job. I got the Wide Guard, which I felt was really important. Yeah. I had 6 new Pokemon that I had never drafted before. If I hadn't drafted Regieleki, Wugtrio, Ogerpon, Articuno, Crawdaunt, and Mudbray, I think were the 6. A lot of new Pokemon. It seems really fun. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Oh yeah, okay, I was supposed to talk about the physical aspect of it more so during the draft. I didn't. So obviously, since my team is so physical, I do have to have ways to deal with it, and I think I do. Right, like Intimidate is the first one that comes to mind. I have Inner Focus. I have Hyper Cutter potentially. I have Competitive. I have like a Regieleki that can go mixed. I also have like the one Pokemon on my team gets to have the not Covert Cloak, the other one is new. What is it? Clear Amulet. So I do think I can deal with Intimidate decently well. It's still good into my team, but it's something I can deal with. What else is good? Burns. I mean, my main burn answer is the Pokemon that you want to burn the most. Because Ogerpon is obviously a fire type, and Ogerpon is also my biggest physical threat. I also have Guts on them. Am I forgetting names? I have Guts on the Pergerder. So that's nice. I have ways to break screens with like the brick breaks that I mentioned, and I have a couple other ways that I don't want to explicitly say. And I think that's basically all. I think Charm could be an issue, but we'll see how we deal with it. That's gonna be the probably gonna be the biggest threat to me in the season, but I'm ready to prepare for it. Finally, don't expect more content from me because I don't see myself recording the main battles. Maybe I do. I don't know. It'll depend on how I feel. I'm open to it, but I just don't see this likely. So, anyways, this was fun. That's kind of all I had to say. I probably went on for longer than I thought I was going to go on for. So I'll end the video here. Goodbye.